And the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, NPP Legal Directorate evaluating alleged cases of election irregularities in Akwatia by-election for a possible legal showdown.
Yes, I'm receiving information on my messages from the Director of Elections.
What's the nature of the information?
There are infractions. I don't want to discuss it here now. I will assess every infraction brought to my attention on its merits.
Of traffic. So we'll hold you to your word. You say by end of second quarter next year, you should be finished. Okay, so after the exhaustion of the current payment that has been made, would it be enough to finish, or is there a supplementary payment?
And that's President Mahama issuing a stern warning to Fankor Inkswam Road Contractor to meet June 2026 deadline for completion of the road rehabilitation project. We hear the response of the Chief Resident Engineer of the project. Also tonight, Ivorian officials pledge full support, including food, shelter and security to thousands of Gonja-Brifor ethnic conflict victims seeking refuge in Vankoro.
The level we have as food and logistics, we are giving it to them. We think that maybe our government and EOCO also bring enough for them.
And we'll also have the latest for you. Founder and leader of the Liberal Party of Ghana, Akpaloo, has been picked up by the Economic and Organized Crimes Office in a dawn operation at his Kumasi residence. We have details as he's been transported to EOCO's offices in Accra.
In business, government hits end-of-year inflation target even before December 2025 as August inflation reaches 11.5%.
You want to stay with us for that plus sports all here on Newsnight. The sports desk will also join us later with the reaction from the GFA to government's decision to cut its budget. Stay with us here on Newsnight. Details after this.
You're welcome back to Newsnight. JoyNews is learning that the Legal Directorate of the main opposition NPP is evaluating alleged cases of election irregularities in the Akwatia by-election, potentially leading to a legal showdown. The NPP's candidate lost the election yesterday, with the NDC's Bernard Bediakubedu declared the winner, securing 54% of the votes. Shortly after the poll results were announced, the NPP said it has evidence suggesting the election may not have been free and fair. Listen to the party's Director of Legal Affairs, Gary Nimako, speaking on PM Express last night.
So now, I must now look whether there were any infractions, irregularities, unsigned pin sheets, whatever there is to it. Look at the whole legal...
Are you preparing to go to court?
I am not saying I'm preparing to go to... I have to now call for the documentation on the Akwatia by-elections. Assess the whole situation, and then now I can make a determination whether or not, indeed, the elections is worth challenging or otherwise. Because the same character, the same lawyer, was the same person who was challenging the case on behalf of his clients in court. Ordinarily, what I would have thought, when my late client had won the city with over 2,000 votes, when you know that parliamentary primaries or parliamentary elections is first past the post, which simply means that you must just win by one seat or one person, you have won. One person, you have won. It's not like presidential where you must win 50% plus one. 1%, just over one, you have won. However, they were challenging a seat won by over 2,000 votes. So how do I sit here and now say I'm going to admit that Bernard Bediakubedu has won with over 2,000 something, and so therefore, if now I'm presented with...
But you just said the NPP had lost. If the NPP has lost, they've lost, not long ago. So why the change in position all of a sudden?
Not that they've said they lost. Maybe there are infractions they are going to present to me. Because I'm sitting here, I'm getting messages on my phone.
What are those
of infractions?
Of infractions, which I'm here to assess. And so therefore, I should not be too quick to determine or make a determination. The reason is simple. If these infractions come to me and I make the assessment and I determine that they are frivolous, they are vexatious, they have no merit in it, I would inform the party that, please, these ones, I have overruled them, and so be it.
In your capacity as the Director of Legal?
Yes, I'm receiving information on my messages from the Director of Elections.
What's the nature of the information?
There are infractions. I don't want to discuss it here now because I have to assess it within the nature of within the remit of the law, and then see.
Am I sensing tit for tat here? You're simply going to drag this out in court against him to frustrate him.
They will throw his petition if he files an election petition. They will throw it at his face.
I will assess every infraction brought to my attention on its merits.
Well, Gary Nemako had disclosed in that interview you just had there that the NPP's Director of Elections had sent him the evidence of the infractions. Thankfully, we can speak to Evans Nemako, who is a Director of Elections of the NPP. Also joining me right now is the Deputy Director of Elections for the governing NDC, Tanko Rashid. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Evans, what's the nature of these infractions?
Evans, thank you for having me, and good evening to your listeners. I think the Director Legal was very measured. In Akwatia, we had 119 polling stations. The committee is putting together all those issues that we felt were irregular. And so at the appropriate time, when we have assessed these situations, we will let the world know. For instance, you go to a polling station, you've mentioned Rashid Tanko, who didn't have accreditation to be at polling stations, was seen roaming all over polling stations, granting interviews here and there. You visit polling stations, and the NDC candidate, his flags, his posters are all over. These are irregular. And so when the Director Legal mentioned that he's waiting for full reports from the field so that we will know the position the party will take, he said it right. And I don't think Rashid is going to discount the physical attack on the third vice of our party, Masaudu, by their vice chairman, Alhaji Azoka. I don't think he's going to discount that. The verbal assault on the minority leader by NDC affiliates, that if they had met him at the polling station, he would have been a dead fellow. And the police have been watching. And I don't think these issues, we are going to discount them. So the Director Legal was right to say that the party is together all our issues and we confront them as such.
I mean, so far, the three examples you've mentioned, they aren't grounds to invalidate the election results, are they?
Oh, please, we will not conclude now. As I said, there are 119 polling stations, and you need to have a fair assessment of all development, and then you can get to that conclusion.
Thankfully, Rashid Tanko is with me. Rashid Tanko, why were you in polling areas when you did not have accreditation to be there?
Evans, let me say good evening to you and your cherished listeners. And my friend, Evans, Director of Elections of NPP. I have accreditation to be in any of the polling stations. Don't forget, I was a coalition agent of the NDC. As a coalition agent, I need to assess the places to be sure of what I'm coming to collect. That's what my friend didn't understand.
You've heard the infractions, the other infractions that he's touched on, and which the legal directory is currently evaluating, together with others, to determine whether or not they should challenge the outcome in a court of competent jurisdiction. What do you say to that?
All that they have mentioned, if you open to CI 127, you can't find any of that. I don't know where they are manufacturing their infractions from. Infractions that can invalidate a result, you can see them in CI 127. That is the document we use to run elections. And that's the problem I have with the NPP. You see, they should accept that they've lost the election, and they lost it fairly. Their intention was to mar the beauty of the election yesterday. Unfortunately, we read through their intentions, and we didn't want them to do anything untoward. That's why when they provoked us severally, we just held ourselves and allowed them. Look, they went around removing our posters on poles, electric poles, and on walls. Ostensibly, they said they were close to the polling station. Meanwhile, if you look at the main lorry station, they had a big banner of their candidate facing the direct polling booth where people were going to do the thumb printing before they put inside the ballot box. Nobody had a concerns about it. Anybody who was going to do a thumb print, if you raise your head, you are going to see Asumani. We didn't see it to be any problem. Because at that point, the poster could not change anybody's choice. Because we had finished our business, we had finished educating the people, and they knew that they were coming to vote for NDC. So there was no need going about fighting over frivolous issue of posters being here or poster not here. We didn't see it to be anything. In any case, one of the polling stations, their office was directly positioned, the ballot box was directly positioned close to their party office. In Wenchi, we didn't see anything wrong with that. So I don't know what they are talking about. I see they are hanging on a straw. And I think they should rather go back and do a reset of their party and come back clean.
But the rule regulating our elections in Ghana clear when it comes to what you can and cannot do around polling areas during voting. For example, you cannot display campaign materials, including posters, billboards, banners, or wearing party colors close to, and this is specified, close to the polling area. They say that you have that, and that is enough to point on irregularity, and that the police and the electoral commission allow that to happen.
Evans, I'm saying that both political parties are guilty of this in Akwatia yesterday. Just take your cameras and go to where I'm telling you. As we speak now, the banners and billboards of their candidates are still situated at where the voting took place yesterday. Nobody vandalized it. Indeed, we were very civil. Our people wanted to retaliate, and we said, look, you people, you don't know what NPP are planning. If you retaliate, it will mar the beauty of our election. Allow them. They have gone to 2 of our areas and said our posters are just close to that and remove them. We will not go and be removing their billboards and posters close to polling stations. We allow them. And now they are rather crying.
Evans Namako, when do you estimate that you finish the process of compiling all the irregularities from the 119 polling stations? Hello, Mr. Namako, are you there?
Hello, Evans.
I can hear you.
Hello, Evans.
Yes, I can hear you. When do you estimate you wrap up that process of compiling the irregularities?
There was no polling station that the New Patriotic Party removed flyers of the NPP candidate. There was no way. Rather, the police had the unpleasant duty of removing NB material and their cars around polling stations. He said the NPP office had a polling station opposite. The NPP office is in Akwatia, and there was no polling station sited in front of that office. And so, if it seems that we are just making issues just like that, there are bases for what we are saying. I'm saying that if we get to Akwatia Lorry Station, 2 polling stations, you will see it. And so, what is it? The fact is the fact. There were media men around. You all saw them, unless, and I'm saying that he will say that when I met him, he had accreditation to visit polling stations. What he had was accreditation to be at the collation center. And we must say that then the EC can verify and authenticate.
Okay, I mean, the man is on the line. Tanko, did you have accreditation to visit the polling stations?
It is one thing my friend doesn't want to understand and will not explain to you. When you are wearing accreditation to collation center, it doesn't mean you cannot go to a polling station. Indeed, you are not allowed to enter the inner perimeter of the polling station. I met him outside the polling station.
So you were not in the inner perimeter of the polling station.
I was not in the inner perimeter. Indeed, ask me whether I was in the inner perimeter. I didn't go into the inner perimeter. At the time we were discussing and the camera even captured. It captured us outside the polling station.
If anybody
was provoked in Akwatia by-election yesterday, it is the new Patriotic Party that was provoked. Our vice chairperson was physically attacked by the NDC.
And you have today asked that he be arrested. Have you heard from the police?
No.
And very quickly, do you accept the outcome of yesterday's by-election as a party?
The EC has announced the results. We are conducting our independent assessment.
Until then, you don't recognize the outcome?
Until then, the new Patriotic Party is conducting its internal assessment.
Thank you very much. That day is Evans Demako is the Director of Elections for the NPP. Also, you had the Deputy Director of Elections for the NDC. So the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, they obviously do a good job providing us clarity, independent assessment, monitoring of our elections. Let's find out if they picked up any irregularities, if indeed they even monitored yesterday's by-election. Vera Ado is a programs officer at the CDD, the Center for Democratic Development. Vera, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Did CODEO deploy for yesterday's by-election?
Yes, we did deploy. We deployed 20 station observers, and then we also had about 3 observers who were roaming, moving from one polling station to the other. So we also observed what was happening through the media and also social media. Yeah.
Did you observe any irregularities, any infractions?
For what our observers reported, no, we did not observe any irregularities at the polling stations. What we saw were some reports from the media on some of the issues that we have seen on vote buying and some violence that's also happened. But our observers did not report any incident of irregularity.
So you didn't observe anything that may invalidate or call into question the voting itself and the results that were announced?
No, we haven't received any reports. I'm just hearing for the first time from the NPP person who spoke to me about some of this irregularities, but our observer did not report any of such.
In the brief summary for me, what did you observe then? What does your report say?
Okay, so for us as CODEO, when you're on the field, we have certain things we are looking out for. We observe the whole process from arrival. What time is the EC official arriving? How are they setting up? Is the setup even accessible to everyone? Are eligible voters allowed to vote? Is there a security person? The vote count. Were agents present? Did they sign their declaration sheet? So we look at all the phases, closing and counting. The last part is where the presiding officer has to post the result sheet at the polling station. And our observers observe all this process, that all these regulations were adhered to at the polling station. And so you realize that generally the process itself was good at the polling station. So this is what we look at for. And so if there's anything that the party has picked, I think it's fine. They can still go into it and report it. I don't think there's anything that should block them from moving forward. From what could you observed, we thought that it was generally peaceful election. Because we also saw a lot of police, which was a lot.
But would you say from what you observed that it was free and fair?
Yes. So a lot of things go into having an election being free and fair. Even though we did not observe votes buying, if candidates and parties are buying votes and selling votes, it doesn't make the competition fair. So we didn't see any incidents of that would indicate that the election was not free and fair. I think our main concern has been the number of police that were deployed and how much it is costing the state. Is that the precedent we want to follow? We also, in the media, some of the vote buying, do we want to continue? And the number of party officials and government officials that were in Akwatia is also worrying. That we have to get to that point where national parties can go into the community or constituency to campaign. But on election day, I think we should just leave candidates and agents to observe the election. Most of the field things we saw on media and what was happening where people were not from Akwatia. And so I don't think we need all these people in Akwatia for the election. So a conversation we need to have broader on our by-election, how we go on with the regulation, especially with the political parties present in the various communities.
Vera, thank you very much. Vera Ado is Programs Officer with the Center for Democratic Development and also with CODEO, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Still live here on News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. Pal.
Well, Evans, you remember the Ofanko and Sawam Road? The bad nature of that road, well, drivers have threatened to protest over the deplorable nature. We have some update on it, and President Mahama has issued a stern warning to the contractor working on that project, emphasizing that he expects work to be completed by June 2026. Asphalting is set to begin soon on that section that has been under scrutiny on social media, with the chief resident engineer, Kwabna Binpom, confirming that about 70% of the project is already done. Now, despite previous delays, Kwabna Binpom says he's confident the contractor will meet the new deadline.
By way of construction, we finished, with about 4 kilometers, of the first session where we've done asphalt, and then beyond, we've done, that is at Masama, beyond Masama, we've gone all the way to around kilometer 10. We had some challenges, in the past, but then with your support and that of the Honorable Minister, the contractor has received some funding, and for the past 2 weeks, we've been working tirelessly. The areas where we had those challenges, where we saw in the social media, we are currently almost at the level of asphalt, where we are going to put on the asphalt, that is a binder, and thereafter we'll continue all the way to the end. So this is in general what we've done. Now there have been a number of challenges in the past. The relocation of utilities, that is the electrical and water, especially on the contracts left. And then there are a number of persons that are affected by the project. Some have taken us to court, and for the past 2 years we've been in court. But just recently we received, well, let me call it that they wanted to place an injunction on the project, but then that was not upheld by the contract. So right from last week we started demolishing those structures which are in the right of way to make way for us to complete our works. And we are also providing some cross drainage facilities to ensure that we do not have any adverse effects of water on the project. So by way, we've done almost 75% of the project. We still have the last structure, which is the Insawam underpass to undertake. Once that is done, we should.
And Pearl, the main concern some had raised in the wake of what appeared to be a stalled project was that the contractor may not have been paid. Well, we're learning tonight, and we've been hearing from Kwame Agboja, who is the Roads and Highways Minister, who says government has fully settled its financial obligations to the contractor.
When you assumed office, the majority of the road contractors, were off-site because they raised certificates to the tune of over 30 billion Ghana cedi and were not paid. So they were not on site, including the contractor working on this project. You directed that we do whatever we can to make sure they return to site. Genuinely, people who apply this corridor were going through a lot of difficulties, and you expressed that very clearly that is not what we wanted. And you directed that all resources should be mobilized and make sure this contractor is paid to continue the work. Indeed, Mr. President, at the time you took office, the contractor raised a certificate of almost $78 million before NPP left power, and they did not pay him. So it was surprising that just after you took office, people were expecting that what they could not do all over that period, you would do it. But guess what, Mr. President, you did it. As of today, Mr. President, every certificate owed the contractor on this project had been paid entirely. So we don't owe the contractor any amount on this project. And I want to hold the consultant to his word that by second quarter next year, this project should be completed, because the physical progress is about 75%, And then financial performance is even slightly ahead of that. What it means is that there's enough resource for the contractor to continue and complete this project. So we are very grateful for your leadership, and hopefully if the contractor continues at the pace at which they are working, we shouldn't have any more difficulty almost up to the end of the project.
So you have the Roads and Highways Minister Kwame Abuja. Joining us now is presidential correspondent Maxwell Agbadba. So Maxwell, President Mahama has asked the contractor working on the Onfanko and Sawon Road project to complete the work by June 2026. Tell us more.
Yes, Pearl. So the president noted that the road is a critical national link as it connects Ghana's two biggest cities, Accra and Kumasi, stressing that any delays with the project directly affects thousands of people. He expressed relief that traffic is now flowing more smoothly, but urged the contractor to put in place adequate measures to maintain that flow during the works. He further questioned how a loan initially secured for the project could not see it through to completion, forcing the current government to make additional financial provisions. He said this is an issue. Now he asked the contractor working on the project to ensure that he keeps his promise of completing it by June 2026. We can hear him.
I can understand what happened. A loan was taken for this project, and I don't understand why the money is finished and the project is not over, and that we're having to come and pay supplementary almost 78 million from government of Ghana funds. So that's something that we need to find out. What really happened? How come the loan that was taken was not enough? Was it that the estimate for the project was not done properly, or what happened? But I can see that drivers are happy now, and I hope that from now till when you finish the project, you maintain a smooth flow of traffic even as you're working, so that you don't impede the flow of traffic. So we'll hold you to your word. You say by end of second quarter next year, it should be finished. Okay, so after the exhaustion of the current payment that has been made, would it be enough to finish, or is there a supplementary payment?
Well, as the Honorable said, we still have some more money left in the contract, to pay the contractor. So I believe that maybe in the course of time we will probably raise another certificate, and that should be able to take us to the end of the project.
Okay, what we've done is, like I instructed the minister, we've moved this contract onto the Big Push program, and enough provision has been made for the Big Push projects. Yeah, this year we have about 14 billion cedis, and next year we have another 30 billion cedis. So I think that there will be sufficient resources to keep contractors going.
Let's speak to the former Roads Minister, Francis Asenso-Boakye, joins me live right now on the line. Francis, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. We just learned both from the Transport Minister, the current one, and the President, that one, the contractor raised a certificate of more than 70 million, and you failed to pay that. The President also says that you took a loan, and he's not sure what you used the loan for. What happened there?
Thank you very much, Evans, for the opportunity, and my greetings to your listeners. In fact, I just responded to the President's comments, and it is about the fact that the President said that we took a loan for this particular project, and the funds have been exhausted, but the road is not completed. I'm very surprised that such distortions is put out there while they know the fact. The entire cost of the project was $346 million. The government of Ghana secured an AfriExim facility of $200 million to support the financing of this project, which was $346 million. So it is not true that the facility that we took was to finance the entire project. the rest of the funding was to come from Government of Ghana budgetary allocations. So it's a complete distortion. I mean, the finance minister has said this before, responded. The current roads minister has said this before, responded. And now the president has repeated that. I think that the president is wrongly briefed. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. Otherwise, he wouldn't have repeated the same mistakes that the finance minister and the road minister has been struggling.
The $200 million you took from the Afri-Exim Bank, did you disburse all of that before you left power?
Pretty much. I'm sure that information the finance ministry will be able to provide that. But the point is that facility was not enough to complete the project. The project was $346 million, and the facility we took was 200. So it was supposed to support it. The funding is to come from the government of Ghana.
So there was a difference of $146 million that the government had to find from the budget to take care of.
And we were going to use government of Ghana funds to pay. And if today the president is saying that we are going to move it to the bush push, for me, with respect, it's neither here nor there. It's government of Ghana funding. So they should just pay the contractor the money.
But it's
so that it's completed.
Yeah, it's important to clarify because you're the minister in charge at the time. Out of the $200 million you took from the Afri-Exim, how much did you use for the road, and was any left?
As far as I'm aware, that facility that we took for that particular project had been used for the construction of the project. And the remaining $147 million is to come from government of Ghana funds. If, after the time that we were leaving office, the contractor was on site, the problem is that this year they put a freeze on the payment of contractors until about August. I think, July, August. And that is the reason why the contractor abandoned site and he was not able to work. So when a couple of weeks ago they gave the contractor some money, the contractor quickly remobilized his site and started working. So the delay this year is entirely because of the freeze on payments to contractors.
Thank you very much. That is there is Francis Asenso-Boakye, is the former roads minister. And Pearl, we have more for you. You want to stay with us. George himself is joining us with some good news as far as inflation is concerned.
Well, it depends on where you're standing, Evans. For government, they think that the end of the year they promised, or they were looking at ending December 2025 with an inflation target of 11.9%. Now, 3 months before the end of the year, they've actually hit a target of or achieved 11.5%, and this is 3 clear months before the end of the year. So it appears that they have achieved, and they've
exceeded the
target, and then they are on course to maybe achieve
with
that
with 4 months to spare.
Yeah, to 4 months to spare, because this is for the month of August actually. So let's see whether they can keep that consistent slowdown, or there are any threats to this as well, and work on the country's second gas processing plant could commence in the coming months as government takes steps to take use of products coming from the country's oil fields. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, government has hit its end of year inflation target way before December 2025. Now, this was after the August inflation rate dropped to 11.5%. There is more in this report.
Government in the 2025 budget was hoping to end the year with an inflation rate of 11.9%. However, with 3 clear months before the end of this year, government has already achieved this feat. It's coming after inflation rate for the month of August dropped marginally to 11.5%. The Ghana Statistical Service notes the drop was fueled by declining price of food, transport fares, and other services over the past month. The data also showed all the regional inflation numbers were driven by transport and market access. The decline is the lowest Ghana has recorded since October 2021 and the 8th consecutive declines this year. Again, For the second time this year, there has been a deflation from July to August 2025. This means during that period, general price levels of goods and other food items went down by more than 1%. For instance, the decline in the price of herrings and vegetable oil also played a significant role, reducing the national inflation to this new level. The Statistical Service believes the significant drop in the inflation rate over the past year could demonstrate that programs aimed at slowing the rate is actually working. The Ghana Statistical Service believes the current inflation numbers should offer an opportunity for households to save more and shop smarter.
That is a business text report. Meanwhile, government statistician Dr. Hassan Idrisu says government can achieve the single-digit inflation target and actually consistent decline in the rate in the coming months if it sticks to the current fiscal consolidation program.
The Bank of Ghana must still continue to work with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that they implement both monetary and fiscal policies to contain inflation. I mentioned that one of the big drivers of inflation is fiscal consolidation. So government must continue on its fiscal consolidation trajectory. If we see very significant deviation from the path we have seen with regards to fiscal consolidation, for example, if you begin to see significant fiscal expansion, that may not bode well for the disinflation path we are seeing.
Government statistician Dr. Hassan Idrisu. Let's still stay on inflation because economist Professor Peter Korte has maintained that government may still have to do more when it comes to food inflation, which is still high.
We are seeing much more significant decline in non-food inflation than food inflation. So it just points to the policymakers to look deeply, take a deep dive into the areas where we can improve food production, food supply, so we're able to reduce food inflation significantly. But I must say, from where we have come from, where in December food inflation was around 23.8%, and currently we are having 11.5% rate of inflation, is quite encouraging. And then the data really rich. It tells you the products that you will find higher inflation: coconut, watermelon, cashew, avocado, ginger, palm nuts, apple. These are the high inflation commodities that locally cause inflation.
And that is economist Professor Peter Korte.
So, George, what does this really mean for consumers, and traders who visit the market? I go to the market to buy tomatoes. What does it mean? Am I likely to buy it at a lower price?
It depends on the commodity and also what the inflation statistician is telling us, that the rate of increase compared to that of last year has slowed. It doesn't mean that prices are actually coming down, but the rate of increment has actually been slowing. Now, don't want to get it complicated, but if you also want to do what they call the month-on-month,
yes,
for the first time or for the second time this year, we saw deflation, meaning that prices actually went down. When you look at the basket of goods that you measure when it comes to the national inflation calculation.
So we spoke to some traders and consumers at the Malamata market here in Accra. Have a listen.
The prices of things are actually good now. These potatoes I sell used to be very expensive, but it's okay now. Exact sold at 1,500, but it's at 1,000 cedis and 1,200 cedis now.
On point. Now go to Kony 1,500. They say I'm me adum. You say 1,000, 1,200.
But you say India. But prices
are currently okay, although some commodities still remain quite expensive.
So the inflation rate that has gone down hasn't really reflected in my pocket. Just this afternoon I went to Accra to buy a blender that used to sell at 270 cedis. Today is going for 320.
And you had some market women and some market women at the Malamata market here in Accra.
Well, to other stories, and work on the country's second gas processing plant could commence soon, or maybe in the coming months. Now, that's according to the head of corporate affairs at the Ghana gas processing plant, Kek Mensah. He tells Joy Business government could soon come up with the dates and timeline for the project.
led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is very much committed to start the second processing plant. You know, this project is long overdue. Unfortunately, it didn't materialize. And the President and the Minister of Energy are very much committed. There was a technical committee to review whatever works that done previously, and they have finished their report and they have submitted to Cabinet. If not for the tragedy that befell us as a country, I think by now we would have known the timelines. So within the shortest possible time, I think when Cabinet meets, they will give us the timeline for the commencement of the second processing plant.
And that is the head of corporate communications at Ghana Gas, Kek Mensa. Now, the National Information Technology Agency says that it is on course in developing a shared e-commerce platform that would host small and medium enterprises in the country. Technical Services Director at the agency, Solomon Richardson, explained that the platform will run a 24-hour service that would support trade in goods and services under government's 24-hour economic program. He spoke to Joy Business at the 4th e-commerce forum and exhibition organized by the German Agency for International Cooperation, GIZ.
Will deploy a shared digital marketplace and onboard all the SMEs so that once that process is automated and is there, he can go to sleep whilst the platform is selling for them. So you get up at night and then you want to buy some things. You don't need to interact directly with the SME, but you go online because the platform is automated. You are able to place your order. By the next time you wake up, order is being processed by another group of people and then you'll be receiving it. So this is how we think that we can scale up by now providing platform as a shared service for the SMEs that cannot pay for an end-to-end e-commerce platform.
Solomon Richardson is the Technical Director Services at the National Information Technology Agency. To the stock market, if you were an MTN share with their PESA was off at the end of trading. Now the shares were 3 Ghana cedis, 84 pesos. That of GCB was also up by 97 pesos. And that's all for business on News Night. Back to you, pal.
Gonja-Brifor, thank you so much for bringing us the latest in the world of business. It's time for sports, and Akpaloo is here. What do we have?
Well, less than 24 hours after the Sports Ministry made public the details of the approved budgets for the Black Stars World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Mali, the Ghana Football Association has responded. In a statement that was released today, the GFA says it has taken careful note of statements made at the press briefing on Tuesday. As the custodian of the Ghana football, the FA will, in due course, provide clarification to the issues raised. They say that they, however, deem it prudent that at this time they maintain their collective focus on the immediate national task at hand, the crucial 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against Chad tomorrow, Thursday, September 4, and on Monday, the game against Mali. The Stars require the unflinching support of all Ghanaians as they prepare to navigate these important encounters. The unity and commitment, the statement says, their supporters have always been the team's greatest strength, and they urge the nation to keep the spirit alive. Once the match against Mali is concluded, the GFA will make its comprehensive remarks regarding the ministry's statements. And that's your sports.
Thank you very much, Akpaloo, for the latest in the world of sports. Now, Evans, it's known as the Tree of Life, feeding families, curing illnesses, and sustaining generations. But in the Upper East regional town of Binduri, the baobab tree is dying. In communities like Bansi, changing weather patterns and environmental decline are crippling a tree that once held an entire community together. Today on Climate Focus, JoyNews' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin brings you a story on fading roots, lost livelihoods, and a call for urgent action.
Across the savannas of northern Ghana, the baobab tree towers like an ancient guardian, but today these giants are in distress. In Binduri, especially in the Bansi community, farmers are seeing the trees slowly die and are no longer producing fruits.
When I moved into this house, the flourishing baobab tree was a valuable resource for us. We would harvest its leaves to make nutritious soups. However, over the past 3 years, the tree has struggled with poor fruit production. To make matters worse, whenever it does produce fruit, pests seem to appear, further diminishing its yield. This decline has been concerning, and finding a solution to restore the tree's health and productivity has become a priority.
Baobab leaves are an important part of meals in northern Ghana. The fruit is full of vitamin C, but now some baobab trees have stopped growing leaves.
We used to sell at least, if it is up to that time, we'll get money out of it. We'll make money. We used to make money out of it.
Experts say there are many reasons. The weather keeps changing and windstorms happen without warning. Trees that lived for hundreds of years are now falling because they can't fight these problems. Some farmers are asking for help. They want research and protection for one of Africa's most important natural resources. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
And that's how we end News Night. My name is Akpaloo.
And my name is Evans Mensah. Enjoy the rest of your evening.